Welcome to CSC200 Game Programming. In this video, we are working on our fourth iteration of Space Invaders, and this is part D of that fourth iteration. If you have not yet viewed parts A, B, and C and followed along with those, then you will need to do that before you try to follow along with this one, part D. What we're going to do in part D is to add in a score for the game, and we're going to start thinking about what if we have multiple players, so a player has 3 lives. We're going to start working with those kind of ideas. So for this particular session, part D, with Game Manager, if I take a look at Game Manager, and I'll notice that in the script, it can provide me some variables. And so that is exactly where I want this, because both the score and the number of lives do belong in the Game Manager as opposed to any of the other objects. So Game Manager, and I'm going to open up the code for Manager. And in this, public, this is what got us some of those variables that we could work with. So I'm going to add them in right in through here. So first one is going to also be a public, and it is int score, and this will be the score for the game, and we'll start that off at 0. Okay. Then along with that, we also need the number of lives that we're going to allow the player to have. So public int lives. And in this game, as far as we have developed it, we've only got 1 player and we've only got 1 enemy. So yeah, we'll have lives at 1. Okay. Now, let's go through and see what else we need to do. We could add a method in here that would increase score or decrease score, same thing with lives. But since I have declared these as public, they are accessible from other methods and other objects here in the game. And as an object-oriented instructor, this just rankles. But it's okay in a game this small to do something along these lines. All right, so now that I have that done, I need to go through and decide when do I want to increase the score and when do I want to knock down the number of lives. Well, in the final game, of course, the number of enemies that we destroy, that will be how we build our score. The more enemies you destroy, the higher your score goes. Number of lives that goes, every time a player is destroyed, the number of lives need to be knocked down by 1. So for both of these, this needs to be timed to be at the same time that the object's player is destroyed and the object enemy is destroyed. So I'm going to work with those scripts to see. So let's go take a look at player. Remember, player needs to knock down the number of lives. So on player, and this is where we left off the last time we were working with player, so this all comes in just fine. Sometime in here, before we destroy the player object, we need to go lower the number of lives by 1. So, like I say, it can be anywhere in here. This will be as good as any. It's going to be GameObject. And I wish to find, in this case, the Game Manager. Okay, and when I find the Game Manager, I want to get a component. So that's get component. And this will be the software called Manager. So in the software manager, that software is a component of the Game Manager. And what I wish to do with this is go to the number of lives and reduce them by 1. And I'll use a C++ type calculation there. So just go to lives and knock it down by 1. Okay. And that's whenever an enemy, whenever a player is struck by an enemy bomb, go reduce number of lives. Then we still have the sounds, which we added in last time, and we do the destroy. Okay, so I've got that one done. Let me save it. Okay, that seems to have gone all right. Go do the same thing with enemy. With enemy, what I want to do is go find a game object called, again, Game Manager, and I'm going to get the component from the software, and I'm going to go to a variable there, and I'm going to adjust it. So I'm going to come in first and go get the game object, Game Manager. So GameObject.find, and what I'm trying to find is, again, the Game Manager. And once I have found the Game Manager, I need to get a component. And the component that I'm after is the script that goes with Game Manager, which is called Manager. And then what I wish to do is go to a variable called score, and I want to increase it by 1 in this case. It might be 100 points for an enemy. And if you have different types of enemies, they could all be of different values. But in this case, just 1. If we can do it with 1, we can do it with 100. Okay, let us save this one. Okay, now then that I've done that, let's go see what happens when I play the game. Now let's see for Game Manager. All right, we have that. Oh my goodness, does not contain a definition for score. Well, let's go see what we did wrong there. Okay, so let's go back into Manager. And I've got it. Oh, looky there, never saved it. Okay, so let's save it now. That does make a difference in things. Okay, go back into what I was doing. Let's see if I can clear those. Yes, I can. Let's try to run it again and see. Well, I don't know, where's my Game Manager? Ah, look what's been added. We have a score that's set to 0 and a lives that's set to 1. Okay, so I'm going to play the game, and I'm going to try to keep the player alive and kill off the enemy. And let's see if the score goes up by 1. So let's go do this. Let's see, so I'm trying to stay alive, but trying to kill the enemy. Okay, and I got him, and notice that the score did go up by 1. Okay, now that I'm going to stop this, play it again, let the enemy destroy the player, and see if the number of lives goes down by 1. So we'll play this again. And I'm going to try to, there we go. And yes, that did stop, that did destroy the player, and notice the number of lives went down by 1. So our code is working. Now, it would be a lot nicer if we had a little notice up on the screen of some kind that gave us how many lives we have left and how many points we've earned from killing off enemies. Well, we'll worry about that on the next one, because on the next one, that will be iteration 5. And on iteration 5, we will have multiple enemies coming across, and we'll see if we can set up 3 players on the, or a player with 3 lives on this one. So for now, that is it on iteration 4.